So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Greetings, everyone. It's the CFO and COO of Gojo here to deliver you the final recap of Succession. D, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm, you know,
Surviving?
it's yeah, it's been a lot of closed chapters this week between this Barry, Yellow Jackets, which we'll discuss later, Ted Lasso. A lot of closed chapters, but we're here to talk about Succession, and I'm gonna just jump straight into my general impression. Typically, when we look at recaps, like people like to look for something big, like like fireworks, something big has to happen. But a show that like took its time setting up things, I think this was a very neatly wrapped, fulfilling finale. I'm not saying that at all to say it's underwhelming. It did exactly what it needed to do. How do you feel about the finale?
I agree because if it were going to be something big, then someone would have had to like die or something, right?
Hmm.
For it to be grand. Because when it comes down to it, the whole point was we just have to figure out which person is
Exactly.
going to be there and how dramatic can you make it other than what they did. I mean, that was to me that was enough drama. And again, this isn't a Fast and the Furious. It's not action packed. It's what it is. It's like a lot of meetings and a lot of chit chatting and a lot of backstabbing. So if you expected something different, I'm not really sure if you've been watching the whole time.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna go there, but
Well, Logan had already died, so like that's
yeah,
your big thing, which we all kind of saw coming anyway. So I don't really know what else you expected unless you expected somebody to like blow their brains out, at the meeting, which and they could have done. Ken could have done it because I really thought he was about to take a dive off that bridge. But I mean, long story short, I think they did it well. It was tasteful. It was what happened, and when it comes down to it, it's almost like what other way could it have happened? You know?
right. Let me add a quick note here. So, I read an interview that Jeremy Strong gave, and he said that there's a take where he does attempt to jump off the ledge, but Colin's character runs and pulls him back. So once I tweeted this earlier, if you had Kendall is ready um, to no longer be a citizen of this earth on your bingo card, you are correct because
Mhm.
that was the right read. That was like his walk where he's questioning his mortality as a man. So that is correct. But
And then,
hmm,
especially since he said, "What else am I gonna do? Like this is
mhm,
all I know how to do. What else am I gonna do?" So it's setting you up to think that's what's coming next. And as far as bingo cards go, I would have had that, and I guess another space too, because my guess would have been that Colin would go and save him, or at least jump out there
mhm,
and pull him back in. I didn't think he was gonna actually be able to do it. Not then, at least. Maybe later, but not then.
mhm. Yeah, so where do we start with this? Because in my mind, I had like a lot of different directions to go.
Start
And
with Lucas.
yeah, so all right. So, like we said in the previous recap, Lucas was emphatically nodding when Shiv said US CEO. But she took that to mean, I want you to be the US CEO. And to that, he never agreed. Like, he never verbally agreed to that. So, Matson does pick his CEO, and of all people, is Big Tom Wambsgans. Which, when you think about it, when you think about it, um, I guess makes sense for several different reasons. Number one, Tom is a shit eater. Number two, um, much like Shiv did when she was in the room with Logan. She tries to tell people what they think they should do, but no one takes her seriously. So they were like, just, and Matt was like, I don't want to hear that. So it would make sense that it's Tom. I said last week I wouldn't be surprised if it were cousin Greg, but it ended up being Tom, and yeah, that yeah, it ended up being Tom, and that is like, yeah, it being Tom is like not that shocking either. I knew it, like I said, it wouldn't have shocked me if it were Greg, honestly, but it's Tom. So did that shock you when when Lucas said that?
Yes, but only because it actually happened, right? Like I'm not used to, I guess, Lucas actually coming through with even what he said. So before you were saying that he never agreed to make Shiv the US CEO, right? Like because he
Mhm.
didn't. But the craziest thing is he's an awful person. So there's no reason for us to try to find any redeeming qualities about him. That's just the truth. He just never said it would be you. Like he just didn't. She took it that way. But when he told Tom, and I know they do a lot of that, I'm saying it, but I'm not saying it explicitly.
Mhm.
I know they do that all the time. But the fact that he really gave it to Tom, it stung a little bit because I'm a woman, but on the other hand, it made sense in that world because we already said that Luca seemed a bit uncomfortable with Shiv being pregnant, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Then I think
Well,
the
because that may delay his plans if you catch my drift. So
yeah, because but I mean, we'll get back to that because
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
But even with that, he's already shown you what type of person he is
Mhm,
because of Ebba, right? So
mhm,
This happening to Shiv with her knowing all of that, and while looking out for the women, also putting them in his orbit, you can't feel any. I can't feel sorry for her at all. Like not even a
no,
little
no,
bit.
no.
Not even a little. And it's sad, like I said, as far as the woman, I hate that for her because it's almost what you expect. Nobody took her seriously and all these things. But on the other hand, she did not do anything to be taken seriously. Like the biggest disappointment I've had the entire series, I'm talking series, not episode, series, was when I found out that Jerry was her godmother. Because
Mhm,
my thing is you've had this woman at your disposal your entire life, and not once have you leaned to try to glean anything from her. Nothing. You have not studied anything she does. You have not been interested in how she moves, and you can tell that because she doesn't do any of it. Like
mhm.
Jerry is the most, if not the most, one of the most strategic people on the show. She's shown enough that you know she's there, and she's absent enough that if she's not, it will take a second for you to realize she's missing
Mhm.
because she's where she needs to be. And Shiv didn't get any of that and learn none of that. So the fact that she's the one that married this man, kind of brought him in, treated him horribly, and then he became the freaking king of the world is just like, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't.
because we said this a while back that like Tom was like Shield's almost like corporate beard, I guess. But
Exactly.
now it's like in a very like patriarchal way. The roles have reversed and kind of like normalized.
He could have. Okay, let me ask you this because this is an opinion, and I don't know how much fact is followed by it. This is just me personally. Do you think that things could have worked out differently had she treated Tom differently? Or would he be a different person if she didn't treat him that way? It's almost like I guess I'm trying to say like the chicken or the egg type thing. Like, was
Yeah.
he always gonna be this, or was her mistreatment and how she kind of belittled him so much to the point that he wanted to almost prove himself? so that he did become this backstabbing person, did betray her, did do all these things to get close and move up, would he have done that if she showed him the love and appreciation and respect that he so desperately wanted or thought he was getting with the marriage?
So this isn't a cop out, but I honestly think it's a bit of both. Mostly because he admitted that he married her just to get a foot into the door. But he did like, but he did like genuinely like grow to love her, and like he admitted that as much. But I think had he not reached a point where he was like just tired of her shit, then he would not have had like the the guts to like say backstab her essentially as she would, because he told her in this episode, it was like, if you were in my position, you would have done the same thing. But it's absolutely true. But considering that he had that, that he was clinging on to, like, I guess what he thought their relationship could be, like he would not have done that if they didn't reach a point where she like just totally crushed him. So he needed to reach that point first before he could fully stab her in the back, because otherwise he wouldn't have.
So was it when she was going to let him go to jail? Was that the point of no return?
Yeah. Like, because obviously it wasn't even the infidelity, because he had a clue, like, but I think when she was about to serve him up to jail, she was like, yeah, Tom, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. You just go to jail for like, what, 5 years? It'll be fine. Like, I think, no big deal. Yeah, I think when she was like ready to serve him up, because remember, that's when he did the first thing that was like truly like snaky, which is like have that meeting with Kendall to kind of like hear Kendall's side of things, because he wouldn't have done that if not for being the one to be served up to go to jail. So yeah, I feel like that was the first step in this, like her like basically serving up Tom, and on several occasions, like, let's not forget, like an episode ago she was like, yeah, fire Tom from ATN if you need to.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and I don't get her, because even this last episode, like, it felt like first of all, from the beginning, the fact that she told this man that they were going to have an open marriage on their wedding night is batshit in itself, right? Like, it's too much. But he said, okay, fine. But when she, even when they did the whole thing where they tried to kind of like almost come together again when he became the disgusting brother, kind of, I thought maybe there was a little hope for reconciliation, because they were beginning to like love the fact that they hated each other. It's like a love-hate thing, but that worked for them. But then after their come to Jesus, I guess that was it then. That was just like it.
Yeah.
But only for him, because this last episode she asked him, would he consider a real relationship? Now, is that the pregnancy hormones, or what is that? Because at that point she still thought it was her. Like, she thought she was going to be the US CEO. So it's not like she was just trying to butter him up or like put herself in some kind of position. I think she really meant it. But
yeah,
why?
She did. Like, I feel like it's mostly because like she probably felt like she had just gotten what she wanted. Slight pregnancy hormones, but also like I feel like their dynamic had changed as well, and I feel like once again they had cleared the air, somewhat reconciled. But yeah, I feel like she finally liked. Funny that you have to finally like your husband, but I think she got to a point where she like finally liked Tom for who he had become over like the past whatever. So yeah, that was genuine, but his response wasn't shocking, because you can only like whip someone for so long before they're like, yeah, I'm tired of this. So like he was like, no, I'll think about it.
And so they are now a married couple on paper and for optics only, right? At this point, like, this is optics.
Yeah.
She was gonna be like her mom or Marcia, right? Not
essentially, yeah.
just like them, but pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a vicious
So
cycle.
so apparently there's like a I try not to like address like the Twitter sphere and their takes, but apparently there's like a Shield fan club and they're like, you ruined Shield's character with this one episode. And I'm like, what show have you been watching? Because and spoiler alert, we're going to shit on all the siblings here. It's equal opportunity, so it's not just beat up on Shield. We like trust me, the other brothers are gonna get some too. But I think
Out of it.
she has shown time and time again that she is like the quintessential air quotes for the listeners here white woman because she would rather self sabotage just so she could be like in the room and adjacent to power rather than let anybody else win.
What what is it about her that has fans?
The
Like what
pantsuits, I don't know.
I'm saying, like
Like
what has she done that would make one say, yeah, I like Shiv as a character.
all right, so and this is gonna be like a bit of a reach, but I feel like it's what I'm gonna label the Skylar White problem
Mhm.
because people thought Skylar White was a terrible character, and she and 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 I will say like she was often misunderstood because like you don't because when you're watching Breaking Bad like you don't realize, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying like the royal you, the universal you don't
Mhm.
realize that you're actually watching the antagonist as the main character.
Yeah.
So like he is ruining the lives of everyone around him. So I feel like over time, like we have like lots of like female characters. This could be Wendy Bird, this could be um yeah, this can be Shiv. This can be what's her face from Barry, Sally. Yeah, so it's almost like an overcorrection of
Yeah.
like the issue, like
Mhm.
because this character is like complex and maybe even annoying, like we can't call out like because I'm not gonna say she's like the worst of the siblings, but she is pretty fucking terrible
Mhm.
because like we saw her go from like oh no democracy oh no to go from like oh yeah like dude I will work for you, a matter of fact we can fire my husband who just sold up the election for you. Like she's a bad character and it has nothing to do with whatever. So I think because like you have this very complex character, like people try to overcorrect and say
Mhm.
like she's not terrible because they don't want to fall in line of saying like oh these women characters are all terrible. But that's like I said, it's a bit of a reach, but that's what I feel like is at play here because she is as terrible as her brothers. Like
So here's the other part about her that I don't understand. Um, I want to say almost 2 seasons ago, there was a point where you remember when she was like, "Won't you just tell him that it's me, Dad? Won't you tell him it's me?" And the biggest issue with her then was everybody saying, "You don't have the experience. You don't have the experience. You don't have
mm,
the experience." She did nothing in that time
no,
to get any experience. Nothing. She didn't
she
do anything
she wrote
at
she
all.
she wrote a memo. She says that no, I'm not joking. I'm not laughing. She says that's her job experience. She wrote a memo.
Daddy make work. But like I don't get her. I guess it's not a point to get her now because we see where she is. But like, it's not that she's dumb. She makes.
And, and this too, like sorry to cut you off. This too, and we have to acknowledge like the barriers of this world. Like Roman, who is inept in his own way, was essentially running the equivalent of Fox Studios on his own, and he sucks. So let's
Mhm.
acknowledge that. So let's acknowledge the barriers of like why she probably wasn't handed anything, but she's also not good at anything. Well, I won't say she's not good at anything because it's funny that she like does she like worked well in politics? Because politics is like seems like a very like backstabby, like pay for play type thing.
Wishy-washy.
So yeah, so she's perfect in politics, but in the business world, like she sucks. Like every single call she has made, except the U.S. CEO,
Yeah.
has been wrong.
Okay, so that's where I think I also get annoyed because again, Jerry's right there, right? And I don't know how you say how you give him that idea without solidifying yourself in the position. I don't know how that's possible, right? Like I'm not saying that she should have figured out a way to say you're going to make me the US CEO or that doesn't go because once you plant the seed it's there. He's like, okay, it's a
Yeah,
good idea, I don't have to make you it, whatever. But I feel like there was a better way to present it where he almost had to make her US CEO or at least like she gets something out of it. And I just think if she talked to Jerry, because Jerry's smart, she could have said, "Hey, I have this idea, and we could get a US CEO, and this could work." excuse me, for Maxon and Gojo or whoever else or whatever for the company going forward. I feel like Jerry would have been like, "Okay, don't say that to him. Let's do something, 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 get you in, and then." When he's in this position, pitch it and he won't have a choice, or do it somewhere publicly so he almost has to say, "Oh yes, I have decided that she is my," you know what I'm saying? Like don't whisper it to him because you have nothing now. You're just feeding him ideas. And the
yeah,
most crass thing I've heard her say was what she said about Tom is he'll suck the biggest dick in the room. Like I could not believe she said that because I'm like, that's you though. Like that's
yeah, yeah,
literally you. So I don't know. But it worked against her because of course Maxon's like, well, I don't want somebody with ideas. I don't want anybody that's gonna tell me what to do. So he recognizes that she has ideas, that she's smart, and that she could probably be a problem for him in the long run. But she should have maybe, I
I
don't
don't
know.
think I don't think she's going to be a problem for
Well, not now,
anyone.
nah.
Essentially, like this is essentially her, like you said, like yeah, she's about to fall back into the Lady Caroline and Marsha role where she like
Mhm.
just and I know a lot of people like read that as like, oh, she's about to go crazy on Tom, and I don't think she's about to do that at all because
Mhm.
like yeah, she did get her nice multi-billion-dollar payout, but she still wants like the powers. So as long as
Mhm.
Tom is like running things, like yeah, she's not gonna fall out of line now. She's like I said, the dynamic has switched. So yeah,
Think she still thinks in her mind like this makes her better than her brothers because she's still in the mix, I guess. Right? Like
sure,
she could make it feel or make it seem like she's the brains behind Tom. So whatever Tom is doing is because she's the puppeteer. And it will make her feel like she's better than them. Speaking
yeah,
of
like
better than
those,
them,
yeah,
um Kendall, can we get into Kendall? Because it's a lot for
sure.
Kendall. Or you want to go to Ramen? Okay. So with Kendall, I guess it'll kind of go together. When Roman had his breakdown about it wasn't him and Kendall was hugging him, was I reading too much into it, or was that an aggressive "I love you" but think like was he purposefully pressing against his face?
Yeah, I think so. It was almost like, uh, yeah,
Like this is why you're not almost, and then he kissed him on the head, but it's almost like this is
yeah.
why,
It
and he
was, it
was
was,
that.
it was almost like, so. To me, it was almost like Michael and Fredo. Like it was almost like like yeah,
You, yeah.
yeah,
You broke my heart. It was like that. Like I almost like this is why I'm reminding you that like this the reason you got this. Remember you got this because you freaked out. This is why it's not you. And I'm sorry that it's not you kinda, but it's not.
yeah,
And then in the boardroom, After he said yes, because you could tell that he was flip flopping in his head, but he just did it because he hates Matson that much. Like he just hates Matson. It's like I would rather be Kendall than Matson, of course.
Also,
But
let me interject. Like I feel like, and like I'm not giving Roman any props here. Let's be clear, but I feel like deep down he's the only one that really truly knows that none of them have it.
well, he said it.
Another,
So
yeah, and he said it. He flat out said it, but he said it on several different occasions. Like if you track it, like he's always been the one to try to like branch off and do something differently. Like he's always like he was the one pushing for the. By the way, which was we'll get to that later, but the one good idea they generated, they chickened out because like, oh, we're gonna lose our legacy.
but yeah, we will get into that. I mean, you might as well go for it now because we kind of on Ken. We're on Roman. But I wanted to mention Shiv while we were talking about
Mhm.
Ken because she said you can't be it because you kill somebody. That was low because that's not what it was about. Like it
No,
wasn't about that at all.
no,
She used that because, like I said, the thing that I can't stand the most about them is that they will kick each other when they're at their lowest point every time. Every single time. Ken's done it to Roman, Roman's done it to Shiv, Shiv's done it to Kendall, and she did it again when she's like, you couldn't do it because you killed somebody. And then after Ken said he lied, that's when Roman was like, oh, well, no, definitely not. Like, definitely vote no for that because there's no way he's sitting here and he lied to us in that moment. I'm thinking to myself, there's no way y'all thought he's lying. Like, you know, he was telling the truth
yeah.
because there wasn't a point where he was just like, oh, this is a great opportunity for me to tell a lie about committing a murder. No, he did it and y'all know he did it. But I guess it's almost like they know that if he would lie about this thing, that there is no bottom for him. Like he will go to the crust of hell and then the little area below that to
Mhm.
do whatever it is he thinks is what he wants. I don't even say it's right. He'll do whatever it is that he wants. So Shiv saying no, I don't really know how I feel about it because on the one hand, it was the right thing to do because Kendall's a bad person. But on the other hand, I know she only did it because she was jealous. Like
Yeah.
to me, that's what it was. And I mean, if I'm wrong, fine, whatever. The show's over. You can't prove me wrong. I feel like she was jealous, and she's just like, well, when it came down to it, when it really got really, really real, she's like, oh my goodness, he's really gonna get it, and I can't have that. I would rather it be Tom, I guess, and
Yeah, it's
Matson
not mean nobody essentially.
than Kendall. Yeah. So if I can't
And
have it, you can't either.
they all in that moment in front of everyone proved why it can't be any of them because they are petulant little children. Like they are
It's
little children. Like
they
if
were
you like
fighting in the office,
yes,
Ronnie.
and you expect now to walk out and like people respect you. Like no, like Frank was like, dude, like you don't have it. And he was like, I'm speaking to your soul now. Like you don't have it as a man. You just don't have it.
Record label or as a crew. You don't have it at
Yes.
all. None of it. You don't have any of it. And he needed to hear that though. But the thing is, did he really hear it though? Did he
He
hear
did.
it or did he no I'm saying does he because if you hear it, then you understand and you're like, okay, he's right. He heard it, but did he hear it as okay, they're still hating. Like they're
No,
jealous, they're mad
I
because it's
think
me. Or does he really now
I think
understand like
he
it's not you?
I think he really understands now because
Okay. I hope so.
there's no PR stunt to pull. There's no scheme to try to like he lost like and he lost for good. And so in regards to Kendall, like his whole identity was tied to the fact that he felt like he was supposed to be the one, even though he's a prime nepo baby, even though he never put in the work. Sports analogy time, like after this football season, Nick Saban said, "Yeah, the reason why we didn't perform well this season is because the media just plugged us into the national championship, and we didn't actually put in the work to get there. Therefore, we didn't get there." So it's
Mhm.
almost like similar situation, like because his name was on the paper years ago. He was like, "Oh, I'm the one. Like it's supposed to be me." Like, okay,
Oof.
when you like break it down, like the fact that you lost the Walter deal and your dad had to save you, the fact that like we could go down the line, the fact that you have screwed up several times, like what proves that it should be you? And I think now that he's truly lost, like he has like nothing. He has nothing.
He doesn't. What did Logan told him in the episode where he tried to boot him out the first time? You
Yeah,
lost.
you lost. Fuck off.
You lost. And he heard it again. Like the second this time, who was it? Carl that told him that this time. You don't have
Yeah,
it.
it
Like
was Frank. Yeah,
it was Frank. Sorry, you don't have it. So it's just like it's the mirror of the same thing that happened before. He was standing almost in the same place with that same face, with that same suit, looking like an idiot, standing there in front of the table where he thought he had it, and at the last minute, now you don't. This time, at least he was on time. Shiv just, pulled a rug from under him.
yeah.
Okay, let's let her go because I don't know. I don't know about her. I just can't. I can't with her. I can't. Tom and okay, Greg. Let's talk about Greg
Mhm.
because did he at the point where he told Kendall what was happening with the US CEO and all of this stuff, he thought they were gonna lose. Yes?
So
They
multiple
being
things.
Matson.
Yeah, so multiple things. He thought Kendall still had a pathway, and he didn't know it was Tom. He just knew that there was a US
Somebody
CEO.
else.
Yeah,
Huh.
because yeah, it's funny that on the last episode we finally get the reveal of what Greg is doing whenever he's in his phone. Like this motherfucker is using a translator. Yeah, so yeah,
Smart
he
though.
yeah, smart though. Yeah, he was reading their entire championship, their entire yeah, the transcript on the phone. He was reading it, and he like you hear the name like like I forget I forget the other guy's name, but when he said, when are you gonna let Shiv know it's not her?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so of course, um, I think that's when Greg is like, "Oh, I have something for Kendall. Let me, prep him so I'll be good when he wins." But so I'm gonna say this too. This finale is almost it remind me a lot of like the Wires like last episode because
Okay.
you see how the structures came to be in place. Like you see
Mm-hmm.
how Logan you see what Colin means to Logan, and you see how uh Carl and Frank are developed, and you see like basically is basically a repeat. It's like a reset. So like Greg, I say that to say Greg is going to be Tom's like Frank or Carl now.
Not Hugo? Not
No,
Kendall's Hugo?
no, Hugo's
No,
out of
I'm
here.
saying no, I'm saying he's not gonna be Kendall's Hugo. He's not gonna be his dog.
Well, no, I don't like. I think because I mean Logan is almost like Logan like respected Carl and Frank to like a degree. Like he's still like he would
He
fire
did.
them. He would fire them like
Oh.
every 3 months, but he would always like bring them back. So like it's that type of relationship. Yeah.
I'm glad we saw that video now that you mention it because it felt like if Logan is capable of friendship, those were his friends at the table.
I'm
And by the
I'm
way,
glad you
Carrie was legit his
yeah.
paramour. Like I knew, but
Uh,
like she was really kicking it. Like
I'm glad you mentioned that. So this is the one thing I want to say about like all of this is that um the reason why the it'll never work for the kids is because they can never leave like business. Like it got always too sticky for them.
mhm.
And Logan's closest circle, the people that knew him the best, the people that were actually his friends, coincidentally weren't his family. They were like his business circle. And I don't even think his kids knew the real Logan. Like Colin
Oh,
probably
they
knew
didn't.
Logan. Colin knew Logan better than his own offspring did. Jerry, Carl, and Frank knew Logan better than they did, and that's why the kids could never be that, because they were interjecting like family matters into business. And I'm not saying this is right, of course, like you shouldn't be like a stone cold like jackass or whatever, but with Logan, like business, it was always business first and foremost. So seeing that, like, and that was probably one of the hardest things to watch, because I know they were watching it and they were happy, but like as I was watching that, like as the audience, I was like, you kids don't even realize you never knew your own father.
Mm-mm.
He never showed this to you. True enough, like the song, and if you want to like juxtapose that with the, um, you know, to bring up our friend Iverson, juxtapose that against like playing the game of like I went to the market and so. Like Logan, like when he's surrounded by his family, he's like so disengaged. But when he's in a room with the people that he does business with, like 12, 16 hours a day, like that's his real family.
Mhm.
And his kids didn't even know him.
It's really sad too. Like that
Yeah.
is really sad because they, if no one else, they deserve that Logan,
Mhm.
and they didn't get it. I don't think they probably ever got it because
Mm.
he, it's almost like he felt like he didn't have to teach the people that were in that room with him,
Mm.
right? Like he, it was
They knew,
Jerry
yeah.
and was Frank, were Frank and Carl in there
Yeah,
when
I
he
think
was,
it's
I
Jerry.
know
Yeah.
who was singing. Was it Carl that was
Yeah.
singing a song?
Yeah, I feel like Carl
He's
was singing.
absolutely
Yeah.
butchering it. He's absolutely
Yeah.
butchering it. But those people were there, and I think when it comes down to it, he always felt like he had to parent. I don't even say parent his children.
It's
His
not parent,
idea of
it's like
parenting was teaching,
have you
or
ever had the manager that like when like you start a job and they like absolutely did not want to show you shit because they're like you should know this already?
think of
Like
swim. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that was him. He was like, I gotta train these morons. But obviously, if he handpicked this team, he handpicked them for like a reason because they
Hmm.
already got the skills. But with his kids, he never saw that. And I guess that's the very negative, toxic part about like quote unquote getting it out the mud, because you expect everyone to be able to. And like
Hmm.
when he looked at his own kids, is like, I made it for myself, and I gave you like the world, and you can't even be worth a damn.
Yeah, and it's his fault. And I wanna make sure to underscore that
Absolutely, yeah.
the demise of those children is Logan's fault. I want everybody to know that that's what I
Mhm.
feel. I don't like his kids. They're a joke. They're nothing, as Roman said. But all of that is because their father did not understand that he didn't give them what they needed
Mhm.
past the material. Like you can give them
Mhm.
all the horses and yachts and country clubs and whatever else, best schools, but the life experience is what is lacking. And he didn't give them that, and they needed it. So that's his fault. But do we think that Shiv and Matson are going to have sex eventually?
So that's what I was saying. Like I think
Or does she
as
hate
long
him?
no, I mean, I think she like that's what I was like hinting at earlier. I think given her history, people think that she would, but I think now because Tom has his hands on the wheel. Like because may I mention once again, like to set the table, like Shiv is like a multi-billionaire, true, but she doesn't care about the money. She cares about the power.
Couldn't care
She was
less. I
she,
mean,
she
unless she
was
didn't
very
have it,
yeah,
of course.
she was very adamant about pushing a prenup on Tom, which of course he eventually signed so he get married to her. So like in regards to their marriage, like the moment he cuts her loose, like of course once again she leaves with billions of dollars of her own money, but she also leaves with like nothing.
Didn't even have his name.
Yeah.
I thought about that too. I'm like, dang, she didn't even take his name. I'm surprised he's not Tom Roy, but
Well,
but in a very
he actually mentioned that he was like, "Yeah, you think I should like take your name?" He says that in the
he would
first
have.
season. Yeah.
He would have. In the darkest timeline, Matson tells Tom that that's what he needs to do in the darkest timeline.
No, and I feel like it would go down that way. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I was worried that Matson was gonna say like, "Yeah,
And
Tom, I need you."
I thought that's where it was going.
I was
And
like, "Hey."
and in the timeline that's even darker than that, he tells her, "Hey, you got to do this for the team," indecent proposal type style, and she refuses, but he like makes her kind of. Of course, it's like I said again,
Yeah.
the darkest timeline. But I'm with you. I don't think she would do it because she's shown that she doesn't have like the scruples are questionable, but I think her pride is serious business. So I don't think she would ever do it just because she doesn't. I think she hates him because he screwed her. Like he kind of he fucked me once already, so it's like I'm not gonna do it voluntarily. No, it's not. And she has nothing to gain from doing that, and everything to lose. So yeah. What happens now? Is Matsson successful? Because he's gonna be successful, right?
I mean,
He's
yeah,
the type of dude
like,
that's gonna be successful.
yeah, and go ahead. Sorry.
Pivot before I forget. Pierce, we're just done with them now. That's over. That's done.
So I wanted to like before we close, I wanted to circle back to two things. First, they got into a dick measuring contest with their dad to buy Pierce, and that's just not a thing anymore. They were gonna buy Pierce like boost the price, but that's not even a thing anymore. When they could have like folded Pierce into their own like media thing, just not a thing anymore. Congrats. Also, little subtle hint. Actually came twice. First, back at Casa de Connor when they were making plans, and Shiv was like, "Oh yeah, you get Tom all you want to now because there's a little hiccup in the Mencken plan." And also, as they were entering the building, they being Kendall, Roman, and Shiv, there's a like a snippet on the radio where it's like, "Oh, the regulatory issues about the Gojo deal have dissolved, so they're not issues anymore." So I say all that to say, like, if you thought I wasn't going to say anything about Roman, you're wrong because he did all of that racist shit just to get Meekin in on basically a handshake, a verbal agreement. And it ended up not mattering at all.
Like for nothing. All that for nothing. And you got stitches and punched in the face and humiliated pretty much.
I love that for him.
I do too. He deserved it. I love the fact that he couldn't face Jerry too. Like, I really like that too. Because he was flat out embarrassed. Like, I can't see her. I can't see her. And it made me think, that's why I think another reason why I keep harping on the fact that Jerry is Shiv's godmother, because she kept telling Roman, I could have got you there. I could have got you there. And I feel that like that with Shiv too. Like, even if she couldn't get Shiv to the point where she could have gotten Roman because, systemic reasons, she could have gotten more than what she is.
Yeah.
So tisk. Oh
yeah,
the whole the bloodline thing. Speak on that right quick.
Oh shit!
Saying that Kendall's bastard. I mean, it's not.
So I took a deep dive on that one.
Okay.
I took a deep dive on that one. All right. So because you already know the kids confuse the hell out of me. So Iverson apparently is Rava's kid via a different relationship, and Sophie is just adopted. Now think back because I watched like several clips. Think back on Boar on the Floor.
Okay.
They were at the table.
Mm-hmm.
And Logan is talking to Tom, and Logan tells Tom, "This is where like the show gets good because like these subtle things." Logan tells Tom, "You should pipe down until you give me a grandkid, or are you shooting blanks too?" And then he glances at Kendall.
Too also as well.
Yeah. So So with that being said, it's very much about like so when Logan was creating a when Logan was pumping his 84-year-old baby juice, like he wanted to create a bloodline because he knew he was cutting the kids off and he didn't know like Shiv was married or whatever, and he that didn't matter anyway. But like like this is almost like a monarchy. So bloodline mattered to these people, and Kendall has no bloodline. So when Roman said
Roman
that,
doesn't either.
I was like, well, yeah, because Roman a freak boy, so that's why
Yeah, freak boy.
I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's wild.
Because he said, like, what do you say? Because one is half Rava, half something, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
well, that's a lot. And he got upset about that, very very upset, which is why they started acting the ass in the meeting in the office, and Shiv couldn't take it anymore. But um, I do want to also say, I feel like that moment when they had Meal Made for a King, that might be the last time they're ever truly happy together, the three of
hmm
them.
yeah,
Because
because
their relationship is, I mean, they might even be, cool again, but it's done. Like
they're never going to be cool again. I'm
they'll
sorry.
never be the same. Yeah.
And I will say like for my personal taste, like I do think the episode was like a little too long, but they needed to show you that moment. That moment was like their yeah, that was like their last like true moment
That was
together.
their hurrah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Their
So yeah,
that was it. Yeah, that was their trip. Their what was it? Farewell.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Hats off to the crowd.
Succession, you did the thing.
He
It
did.
was a good ride. You got out when you got out when you should have. This could have gone
Yeah.
on seasons on seasons on seasons, but you got out when the when the iron's still hot. Shout out to you. Um, I just want to say this too. While I'm eulogizing the show, like I typically don't have a 180 on shows that I absolutely fucking hate because like D, you were there. Like I could like
What's that?
the show was terrible to start off with, but they found this. I think they found out that this story isn't the show isn't story driven, it's character driven, and once you like
Mhm.
basically make it around characters and their motivations and how people respond to each other, like I think they found like the best version of the show, and yeah, like this is like a really good show. It was well done from top to bottom. They stopped doing the shaky camera thing. Shout out to them on that.
Did you notice they brought it back though?
They brought it
They
back.
brought
They
it
brought it
back.
back.
This episode, I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, that's a nod to the day ones.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
nice.
But yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah, D, any final words before we depart?
that isn't. It's definitely not a show I would have watched on my own. So for all of its faults, shout out to the social part of it that helped me even put it on my radar. Because there's no way I would have watched this just seeing. Because again, that first season was rough, y'all. Like rough. But I'm very happy with the way it went. I now that I've seen it, it feels organic. I can't imagine it being any other ending. I'm sure they could have gone another way, but I think this was the best. And I do like that they ended it this way because now we just get to create whatever we want in our minds about what happens next. Is Tom successful? Is Gojo successful? Is what happens to what are they gonna change the name to? All that good stuff. So I like to see where everybody turns out. Roman's gonna be Roman, and I think he's just gonna kind of drift into being a billionaire and not much else. Shiv's gonna sink into herself, and Kendall hopefully doesn't kill himself in a drunken stupor.
Yeah. So
That's it.
it was it was fun.
Favorite character. Now that you've seen all that you have to see, who was your favorite character of the show?
Honestly, it's ooh.
And it doesn't have to be the best person. I mean, like, which character did you enjoy watching the most?
So this is recency bias, but I've always liked the B characters. Tom.
Yeah.
I mean, not Tom. Excuse me. Carl, Frank, and Jerry.
Jerry, yeah.
Yeah,
The
because
old
they.
guard, yeah. You
Yeah,
said that a
yeah,
lot though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think it's too much recency because you've consistently said that. So I'm gonna give you that. And Tom, like you've always like, I think you just like his
But
last name.
yeah. So I'm gonna say this too. Like, I think as far as like when we're like 5 years away from this show and we're talking about like character progressions, and once again, not an endorsement, but just like talking about character progressions. I think when you look at Tom and how he progressed over the show, and by the way, Matthew McFadden, get ready for your loads of Emmys because like that final scene where like he had fully like come out of his shell and he was like standing tall and shaking everyone's hand and he was like and he was like shaking people. I was like, Tom Wambsgans is here, people. But when you look at like character progression, I think when we talk about like the big TV shows, like I think his character progression is going to be like one that is like up there from like when you go from like A to Z within the show. Like I think his character progression is going to be up there.
I mean, he went from the meekest mouse to the mightiest man, if you
Yeah,
can. And that's where it went. Like seriously, from zero to hero in the worst way, but
yeah,
he have it. He got what he came for. I'll say that.
yeah,
Good for him,
yeah.
I guess.
But yeah, that's
But bravo.
yeah,
Bravo.
that's all we have, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until next time. Peace.
What are they gonna